What are you doing, beloved?
Attention, attention, my black brothers. What I want y'all to do right now is take out the do-rag, the silky, tie it down. I want to see the waves glistening. If you got nappy hair, pick it. Don't let nobody discourage you.
Ariel.
Black boy, black boy.
What is up, everybody? It is your boy, Laura Dabry.
And I'm Derwin King.
And welcome back to another episode of That Black Boy Joy, where we create a space where black boys can be themselves and so much more. We are back again like never before. And today we have a guest on the show with us by a young man by the name of Tristan. Tristan, how are you?
I'm doing fine as much as I can during this time. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, it's just, I'm ready to be out and about, y'all. Like, I know, so in Maryland, things are starting to open back up. And I'm ready to just, like, do some stuff. But I'm also being cautious. But I just want to be out so bad.
Somebody's ready.
I'm like, I didn't think I was going to be
like
ready.
me.
Listen, I'm putting my toe out. So yesterday, I went to like a Mexican restaurant and sat outside. It was really good, but like I was just like, let me see how these things are. You're in New York, Tristan, correct?
Yes, Brooklyn, New York.
How is everything there right now for you?
So it's definitely a lot different than from Ohio, as I just recently moved back from Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, come on.
Right, exactly. Well, Dayton obviously didn't have as many cases of the coronavirus. Yeah. So like they opened up a lot earlier than New York. New York is doing it very slowly. However, it's actually a lot of fun to have like these like nice like outdoor seating for restaurants. A lot of the bars and restaurants are doing like drinks to go. A lot of people have been in the park and things like that. So it's actually not as horrible as people think it is. If you're an outside person, then it's working for you. I just love being outside, so I have no issue if I'm not like sitting down in like a movie theater or a restaurant. Like I'm fine with like enjoying like, you know, drink with my friends or going to the park or to the beach or something like that.
Oh, okay. So you like, hey, I'm here.
Oh yeah, you know, this is the perfect time.
Well, first of all, thank you for being a part of the show with us. So just to give people a little bit of background about you, Tristan is actually a male. So first of all, the question is, do you all call yourselves ballerinas as males? That's the first question.
No. So ballerinas are only is a term to refer female ballet dancers. Like colloquially, people would say ballerino, but it's not actually the correct term is danseur, which is spelled Danseur, which is French for male ballet dancer. I mean, I don't have a problem with someone saying ballerino because, you know, ballerino, you get the feminine and the masculine terminology for it. But the actual term is danseur. So, or you just say you're a male ballet dancer. So
okay.
That's just, yeah.
So we have on the show Tristan, a male ballet dancer, and I'm actually excited. I think this is the first first of all, I've never had like an actual conversation with a black guy in ballet. So I think this is something that I feel like would be very great for the show, but also for people to have insight about what it is, and also just to inform people what your experiences have been a part of like the ballet world and things of that nature. So I'm really excited to have you a part of this show, and I know Deb is.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, so first question I want to ask you is, what does Black Boy Joy mean to you?
Wow, that's actually an interesting question. I think Black Boy Joy to me would be a Black boy that can live in his truth, a truth that is unapologetic. He can be himself intellectually, artistically, emotionally, like in various elements. He doesn't have to follow the stereotype for a black boy, or whatever stereotype that someone has for a black boy. He can be true to his own identity. And I think that's what it is for me, because it's like, I feel like I live in my truth as best as I can, I would hope so. And I feel like I'm very joyful in that sense. And I hope that any person, no matter upbringing or economic status or like, you know, background, can be able to live in their complete truth.
Come on. Get into it. Also, can you tell people a little bit about like who you are? Just like a snippet of like where you're from, like how long you've been, like what company you're part of, and things of that nature, so that we have that. Because we want to highlight you as our spotlight. So we want to just give that time for you right now.
Okay, so I'm Tristan Grannum. I am originally from Brooklyn, New York. I just most recently danced 2 seasons with the Dane Ballet Company in Ohio. Prior to that, I was with Ballet Austin, and prior to that, I did couple of outreach programs and shows and performances with Dance of Harlem in New York. I went to Fiorella H. LaGuardia High School for Performing Arts, which, if you would know the movie Fame, yes, it was based off of my high school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I actually started my classical training. So I actually started relatively late. I started at the age of 14. Prior to dancing, I used to like do commercial acting and singing, as well as like musical theater, and played like instruments very like in a basic way. But I did basically all the art forms before I actually started dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I was in middle school, I was doing like more so a musical, and the teacher was like, we did like a little jazz combination. She was like, oh, you're actually like pretty good at this. So that's what put me into like doing dance in middle school, like my 8th grade year. And then a teacher there was like, maybe you should try to go to the Performing Arts High School. And there, like, obviously it's very competitive. So I actually had very minimal training before I auditioned,
Mm-hmm.
but I was just good at copying and reciprocating, like, what everybody else was doing. Even though I didn't know the technique, I could definitely copy very well. So I was admitted into the school, and it was actually, I did not know until probably senior year of high school that I actually wanted to make it as my profession,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to be a news anchor my entire life. I wanted to be like on ABC News and like, being a news correspondent and interviewing politicians and leaders and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I went to Performing Arts High School and I placed a lot of time into ballet and my training, it was just something that I more so as like a hobby that I was really good at.
Yeah.
And something, it's just like, something that you just put time into. I didn't really see it as a job, because sometimes dance may not be the most lucrative profession.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it, I felt like I strived a lot academically in high school as well. So I was like, I didn't want to really push that aside, but through like mentors and teachers and like people who have seen me dance, they're like, no, you should really make this a profession. So applying to colleges, I also auditioned for ballet companies at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had to defer from the college that I was going to go to right after graduating high school. And I was like, okay, time to put that aside. I mean, in the beginning, my parents were not as supportive with it, because it's like you're going to literally give up everything that you have done academically in order to this, even though I place a lot of time into ballet. But they are very supportive of me now. They have seen me dance. They travel to see me dance. So I guess that's my little biography.
You also were in Vogue, correct?
On the Vogue Italia website.
Okay, I was like, I know I said, I don't think you want to like forget that. I was like, over there, you international.
Well, actually, okay, so I wouldn't consider myself a model at all. I would definitely maybe aspiring. Like the way I say like I'm a professional ballet dancer, I don't think I have that much credentials to say I'm a professional model. But what I've done is I feel like when I started doing like little dance photo shoots with different photographers, I was like, I would love to like photograph you. They started to be like, no, let's do some more like editorial type works, like headshots and more like movement styles, somewhere a little more like nude and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how I got to do a photo shoot in Austin, and he submitted his work to Vogue Italia, where they were presenting upcoming photographers and photographers that you should check out. And that was one of the images that I've done. And I would say the other publication was I did a Pride photo shoot for Nylon magazine last summer, which was, but it was like an open, it was like, I think it was like 20 of us.
You did it?
Yeah, exactly.
Other people did not.
I did. And it was like different, like Black LGBT members, or like and it was like each person had a like what pride is for them. Each person had a word, and it was like posted on their Instagram and on their website, and it was like dedicated to like the Black LGBT organizations and donating to them and whatnot. So yeah, so that's like the little side gig.
Yeah. And you also, I know a little bit. So you also like won some like awards or like prizes for like in other countries, correct?
Yes, and I love how I said my whole biography and I did not mention that.
I'm like, we got an accolade. This is your spotlight. You got to brag.
I know.
Okay.
I know, but it's like sometimes you forget, but I don't know how.
We get it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, in 2017, I had a French teacher that I was training with, and she needed a male dancer to go to this dance competition in Beijing, China. So it was very last minute, but she was like, I think it would be good for you just for exposure and things like that. So honestly, I went there with a solo that I probably like rehearsed maybe 2 or 3 times. Like I was like, did a GoFundMe to help buy my plane tickets.
Yeah.
And it was just something that it was just like, I just want to go to China and I want to see China and I want to compete. But it was never for like trying to win, because I was like, I'm not going to win.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that I did win first place in my category. And it was actually a really amazing experience. I think it's also because I was the only Black person in the entire competition. And the competition had ballet, and it actually had like Russian folk dance and Chinese folk dance, and it had contemporary ballet and had a contemporary. And I was in like the contemporary ballet aspect of it.
Right.
And I got to dance in the gala with the other ballet dancers. But it was nice because I was interviewed on the Beijing local news. I had like a translator. Like competitions in China are really big. Like game shows and competitions are really big. So it got a lot of, it is, and it got a lot of attention. So like, I just even remember being in the street, just like being a tourist, and people were coming up to me like, "Oh my gosh, I think I saw you on the news." But I also had the translator to translate that was saying.
You're like, what they say? Oh, thank you.
Exactly. And honestly, just being Black in China is like, wow, who are you? It's like you're like this like kind of like exotic creature to them. And I think American Black people are also slightly different, because like, in terms of like, fashion and like, definitely it's definitely a difference though. Like, the style, the contemporary style, or even just being from New York, like the way I was dressed there. They're like, oh wow, like people were pushing their little kids to take pictures with me. And I'm like, oh wow, like I must be a big thing. But no, it was amazing. It was definitely an amazing experience.
Yes. And then just the last part of the spotlight, so we can dive right into the conversation, is if you could choose 2 songs that are not traditional, like ballet, like songs to perform to, what would they be?
Wow. And, okay, so traditional. Okay, could it be contemporary classical? Because contemporary classical is not traditional. Or do you want like pop R&B music?
I wanted pop R&B, but if you want a contemporary, you could do that. But I think the viewers will listen. What Megan Thee Stallion?
Exactly, because if I said the contemporary classical composer, people would be like, what is he talking about?
Right.
I would definitely say "Lonely" by Beyonce.
Scared? You said scared of lonely?
Scared of Lonely. Yes.
Okay, I got it. I was making sure I heard it.
I believe it's on, I could be wrong, I Am Sasha Fierce?
Yep, I Am Sasha Fierce.
Yeah, that song was one of the first songs I actually did my LaGuardia solo, my high school solo audition to that song. I just love that song completely. Also, wow, this is a hard question. Oh, I love music.
Black Parade.
I try to choose someone that's not Beyonce.
If you want to go Beyonce again, just go Beyonce. You can stay to the lane.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with it.
You could just say the whole discography of her. We'd be like, okay.
Oh shoot. Dangerously in Love.
Oh, Oh wow! I can see that's some intense right there. I can see some emotion.
Yeah, and then I think I'm the type of person where I just also love good vocals.
Mhm.
And
Me too.
anytime, right, exactly. And
That was a
any
lot for
person
me.
that has seen Beyonce sing
Uh,
Dangerously in Love live, especially the one from the Grammys, I think 2002, I could be wrong. Someone can correct me on the actual year when the album came out and she
Yeah.
performed with like the dub and everything. That is one of the best vocal performances I've seen in my entire life, in my opinion.
I think
Okay.
So yeah,
I think
she
my
just
favorite
emotes.
version of. Oh, go ahead.
No, say what you're gonna say. Sorry.
I think my favorite version of that song is when she mashed it with "Sweet Dreams" and "Sweet Love." I think
Yes.
about.
Yeah. That is it. Well, that was that part of it. So we're going to dive right into just like getting to know a little bit about you, some of your experiences and things like that. So Devin slash Derwin slash whatever we feel like calling you right now, but nothing disrespectful. Can you start us off?
Absolutely. So I'm so interested in your experiences as a Black dancer, specifically because I've always been like really infatuated with like Black ballet dancers anyway. So one of the things I wanted to know is when did you know for a fact? So I know you experiences you've had to get there, but when did you know in your heart of hearts that you were going to do this?
As a career.
Yes.
Wow. I think I would say the turning point would have been my graduation concert. I was featured as the lead dancer in the ballet piece. And so, okay, so a little like background information. In LaGuardia High School, you only get two major performances while you're there.
Oh.
Like at LaGuardia, they like to train you up until you perform for an audience. Like other performing arts high schools, you start performing from freshman, sophomore, whatever. However, we get like a little small performance in junior year. However, to cap it off, you have this large graduation concert with choreographers that choreograph for ballet and contemporary companies like Ailey and American Ballet Theater, New York City Ballet. They come to our school and they choreograph on us. So like the concert that we do is like professional level. So I think it was me being the lead in the contemporary ballet piece and the classical ballet piece. And there was the company has disbanded now, but it was a popular contemporary ballet company called Cedar Lake, which was in San Francisco. The company manager actually came to the performance, and I remember she came up to me after the performance, and she was like, "You were absolutely amazing. Like, I would love for you to come to San Francisco. Let the director see you. Like, you are going to be a talent. You're very young, but you have like what it takes to be like in a professional company." And at that time, I think I needed that because at the time I believed I placed the housing deposit down for college,
Mm-hmm.
for journalism. And I was still at a place where I was like, I don't know, do I really want to do this? Like, do I really want to put everything that I've done academically aside for this career that could go wish-washy no matter how talented you are?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
who you know, and that people know this, like especially even in media and just the arts world, it doesn't even matter how talented you are. Just sometimes you just need that break. And I feel like just having those words, I mean, everyone was always telling me, like from teachers were like, you can be a ballet dancer, you could be in a ballet company, but it was never enough for me. And I feel like her, like a company manager from a major company saying that to me really was like, oh wow, like I can really do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was the turning point for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I was like, I did not know. First of all, thank you for the insight about LaGuardia. We learned about LaGuardia as well in this conversation too. I was like, what too? But like, who are some of your like inspirations in the ballerina world right now, if any?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the generic answer.
Okay, you can also
Which
be
would be,
very intricate as well. Like you ain't got,
okay,
if
I
you don't
will.
gotta. Okay.
Oh no, I will. Missy Copeland is probably the most. Yeah, so that is. I'm gonna say that's the generic answer. I have for years looked up to her because
I'm
she
sure.
is a Black woman. She's at the top of her game. She has made ballet mainstream. She's danced for Prince, but then also is a principal dancer at American Ballet Theater, which is the top ballet company in America. So she has endorsements. So it's something that I've always wanted to do because I feel like me just doing ballet is, I'm more than just doing ballet. Like how I was saying, how I'm into photography and then acting and things like that. So I want to be able to like be just as versatile as her. So everyone knows who she is, so that she's like the Beyonce of ballet now.
So fascinated with her.
Right, exactly. And I'm such a beautiful body, such a gracious person. I happened to meet her twice. She's so amazing. But I would say my actual really main idol, who maybe people may not know, is his name is Eric Underwood. And he's a professional Black ballet dancer. He just recently retired from the Royal Ballet in London. So that's like England's top ballet company. However, he's originally from inner Washington, D.C., like an inner city. Yes, and he started dancing relatively late, just like me. Started dancing in high school. He went to the Performing Arts High School in D.C. Duke Ellington? No, that's not
Duke Ellington.
Yes, okay, good memory. Okay, he went to Duke Ellington. That's where he started his training. And then he moved to New York, where he danced for Dancers of Harlem, which is like the Black ballet company of America. And then he was dancing for American Ballet Theater for 1 year. And then he moved to London and he was a soloist at Royal Ballet Theater. And another reason why he's my inspiration is because he's also like a professional model. So he's actually been in GQ magazine. He has endorsements for like umbrellas and suitcases, and where he utilizes his dance training for like the photo shoots and photography. And besides him, and he also, besides his talent and his versatility, he is another person that speaks up about systematic racism in classical ballet, culturally, why there aren't many Black people or Black men going to ballet due to economic status and just culture in a Black family or culture in Black society and how they perceive men that dance. So he speaks about a lot. He has given his like statements to like the New York Times and like other like publications where he has like voiced how we can improve the demographic, especially increasing the Black demographic in classical ballet, and he also runs a couple of outreach programs for inner cities of London and of England, like kids that wouldn't normally have access to classical ballet. He is in charge of a lot of programs there as well. So he's like my main like idol.
Thank you. I'm like, oh, I'm just learning stuff. I'm like,
Sorry, I get my question.
I have a follow-up question. So how has it been like, I know you wanted to be, do journalism, but also like you dabbled in like photography and you're also like a traveling, like I don't want to say ballerina, but you're someone who travels in ballet. How has that been trying to maintain, your identity, but yet still like carry on in the routine of ballet life?
Wow. Okay. So, okay. I feel, and hopefully I don't answer this if I understood question correctly. I feel like it has been a process for me and I've come to a place now, I would definitely say this year, where I am satisfied with my identity in ballet. I feel like it was always a process for me from being a student even into the professional world, because rewinding to the beginning of my ballet training, I used to do ballet summer programs across America every summer of high school. So I went to San Francisco Ballet Summer program, as well as the Howard Conservatory, which is in Florida. I went to the Joffrey Ballet in Chicago, and these programs are for like basically students that are probably going to become professional ballet dancers. So it's like a ballet summer camp for like talented ballet students, and you go away for a month and you take class, and it's supposed to improve your training, and you meet kids from Europe and Asia and like all across America, and you become friends with them. However, I feel like I was in a place where I always had to assimilate to how they were in order to feel like I was a part of this like
Yeah.
institution.
Yeah.
I felt like I sometimes had to suppress the Brooklyn boy, suppress
Yeah.
the Jamaican Trinidadian descent that I had. Everything about me, I felt like I had to suppress. I had to like kind of change the way I talked, the way I acted, my style, in order to relate to wealthier white kids.
Yeah.
And it was a process for a long time where I felt like it was like I had this facade all the time when I was in that area. And then the moment I left that area, it was back to no Tristan.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this year, especially like most recently, I've become very okay with just being myself.
Mm-hmm.
And having like my slang, my LGBT slang and my Brooklyn slang, and things come out, and my mannerisms and things that make me who I am as an individual come out, rather than putting on this act like I have to be like everyone else.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of time, or is it just like a strong security and like you're not going anywhere?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, so do you think that your willingness to be like your full authentic self has more to do with like a growing comfort as time passes, or like I'm obvious, I'm here to stay, I'm not going anywhere, so no matter how I rub you guys, I know that I'm here?
Oh, I think it's definitely both. Like it's a thing where I have grown into it and like grown into my own comfortability in that space. But then it's also like the second thing where it's like I'm just here, like I'm just as talented as everyone else, and you can't take that away from me, no matter where, like no matter how I'm talking, no matter how I'm acting, no matter what my ethnic or economic or whatever background you may classify as not being the classical ballet background. I'm just as talented, maybe even more talented. So it's just like it's just that type of thing where it's like we both got this job.
Yeah, exactly.
And we both got this job. I was in that audition room with the 200 other people, and they chose me as well. So it's like I'm just here. I know,
I might be from Brooklyn and you might be from somewhere overseas, but we are here in the same spot right now. So let's get it.
And it's sometimes you feel inferior. I feel like at times when I was younger, when you would hear like your counterparts like talk about, oh, my family has a house here and this and that, and they're like wealthy upbringing, and then you have to like concoct some anecdote about the wealth, and I'm like, no, this is just you're just some Brooklyn boy, like living in apartment, like like these kids have like houses in different states and in different countries, and they never really had to like work a day, like not even work a day in their life, but like never had any type of struggle. And I always felt the need to be just like that, or not even convey that. And that's not my individual story.
Thank you.
So
I also wanted to ask a question about, so the only time I've ever been like directly exposed to ballet has been through like some other form of media, so film. I've never actually seen like a show myself. And I remember something that sticks out to me, which, forgive me for this, it's gonna be really cheesy, was that movie that The Rock did with that little girl, where I think it was like his daughter. The Game Plan. And it was like they were football players and the little girl was learning ballet. And so what I had gotten from that is that dance can be used, either the discipline or the tactics can be used outside of the discipline, outside of the art. So how has ballet influenced your life outside of dance?
So that is a good question, because I feel like that is why I love ballet so much, is because it has made me a different person. And yes, in a positive and in some negative ways, and like how I see myself, but positively, my work ethic has changed completely, especially becoming a professional, because going into a room where people are just as talented as you, but they work 10 times as hard as you really change what you're doing. Because I feel like I was a little complacent. Like graduating high school and entering into the professional world. I was like, I was the lead in my show. Like I'm this and I'm that. But then you
Mm.
go into the audition room and the guys are just as good as you, maybe even better than you, and they're also eating really well and they're being punctual and they are working out and they're practicing after classes and rehearsals are done. And I was like, I just have this talent and I'm good enough. But it wasn't the case. Like I had to work just as hard. So I feel like I have brought that into so many other elements of my life. Like currently I'm taking classes in journalism online, and I feel like
Oh.
my work ethic is like transcends into that field as well. Like I can definitely, people who know me prior to even in my training of ballet, I was never punctual. And ballet makes you punctual because the thing is you have to be in that studio 30 minutes before the warm-up class starts or the rehearsal starts. And it, in some other elements, sometimes I am still late. Nonetheless, that's me. But but like, you know, for important things, I know I have to get there. So punctuality, I would definitely say my work ethic, health, health and wellness. You have to maintain a certain physique for ballet. And even though I'm not dancing right now, put on a little pounds because I'm not dancing, I still try to maintain the same type of like diet and exercise routine and things like that. So literally ballet envelops your life, and ballet dancers know, like you can always tell, like when a ballet dancer is working a normal, like a job, like a normal 9 to 5, they're always the one that's putting in more work. They're always the one that's on top of the game. They don't do things just to get it done. They're not complacent with what they have done, because I feel like in ballet, no matter how hard you work, you're still not going to get what you want. And you can be busting your butt hours day after day. You may not get that role. And I feel like when you go into the more like professional, non-artistic world, where sometimes, like, you know, just getting by is enough, you can always tell that the ballet dancer goes above and beyond, in my opinion.
I wanted to also ask, because I heard you say that you have to have a certain physique. Is that about the actual like technical process of dancing, or is that more aesthetic? Like, what is the requirement for to have a certain body? Is that literally because of muscles and like the movement, or is it simply for an aesthetic?
And it's for both. And before I get into the next point about having that Black aesthetic when it comes to the body, I would first say, I would just give you the very general. So as a male ballet dancer, preferably they would like you to be lean, like muscular. You want to be muscular in order to partner the female. So you can't be a weak guy because you're lifting girls above your head hours and hours and hours in the day. The girls have it a lot harder. They have to maintain, like, be very, very petite because you can't be heavy if we're gonna lift you. And aesthetically, just your line looks a lot better when your muscles are smaller. Let me rephrase that. To the director, to the ballet world. I wouldn't say to me, but to the ballet world, the smaller muscles look better. So I would say now I can bring it into the like the more Black aesthetic. I've had a lot of issues with my body because of classical ballet, because growing up in high school, I was very, very skinny, and which was perfect. Very long legs, no butt, nothing. I was a boy, which was perfect. Ideally, my body was just like the other white guys in the classroom, in the audition space as me. But I tell everybody, when I turned 20, 21, I went through like the second puberty where
You said it came here.
Right. It's like I'm not even gonna call it the Black body. I would just say the real the cornbread came in.
Yes.
the thighs and I was still muscular at the end of the day, but my quadricep got bigger, my thighs got bigger, my chest got broader, my chest muscles got bigger. So everything got bigger. And it was something that I always was very slightly insecure about, because I felt like people always were like, Tristan, you're so in shape and this and that. But then it's like when I would put on my tights and everything next to the white guy, everything is showing.
Yeah.
And your butt is showing. And that's something that they notice on stage because the tights, white tights show everything. So that's the thing. You can be very in shape, but if you have just like slightly more muscular thighs or more muscular butt or more muscular chest, you may be seen as fat due to these costumes. When you're wearing a classical costume is a tunic and tights and ballet shoes. So the tights is showing the thighs and the butt, and the tunic, sometimes we have very broad shoulders or wide chest. It makes you look larger from a distance. So it's something that I've definitely always, it was something that I struggled with because it's like, I'm in shape and like everyone loves my body, but it's like, I don't look skinny enough in this costume.
Is there any push to change that?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Is there any push or force from anyone in the ballet world to change that?
Like, as of changing that aspect of the entire institution?
Yeah, because as you're describing what was happening to your body, right? I'm imagining it. It seems perfectly picturesque to me. Now, granted, I am not in the ballet world, so I have no idea how this works functionally. But like, you know, if we're talking about like larger muscle, if it still works, and the only thing is that it doesn't fit like a smaller white aesthetic, I'm wondering if there are people in the ballet world who are making an effort to push against that requirement.
So they are, but it's not enough. And I will say that the skinnier, so there are some Black men that just aesthetically are just naturally very skinny. And they fit the white aesthetic. And I feel like those guys that are blessed with that, even if they have it slightly easier.
I think about Harper, the guy Harper. I look at maybe thinking about him. Yeah,
Harper is very slim. And also another dancer, his name is Calvin Royal, and he's same complexion as me, but he's very skinny. And they definitely, directors do prefer that aesthetic. And I don't think they push. I see in the ballet world, they're pushing for more inclusivity of bigger shapes, but you only see that more so in the school, not in the professional world. It's still a stigma, and there's still like, you have to meet these requirements. And for example, Misty Copeland has slightly larger boobs than most female ballet dancers. So even with her, she doesn't have the cookie cutter body, but she's still very small, very petite, very snatched. But in terms of like, and she also has very, very muscular legs as well. And what is disheartening at times when I look at videos of her on YouTube and I read the comments, people are like, and it's always like a European ballet supporter that is always like, she looks too big for the tutu, or her legs are too large. She looks like an athlete, like a football player on point shoes. And it's so disheartening because it's like, yes, she doesn't fit like the Russian aesthetic, which is literally like females that are under 90 pounds. They don't think she's as qualified for the job. And she is just as talented as the Russian ballerinas, maybe even more, but somehow, and that's why ballet is very superficial, it's just somehow they overlook her and they try to lower her talent because of having muscular quads or calves.
I want to know a question. I have a question. So how, knowing all of these things and knowing that it's very competitive, and also knowing that like there's a lot of body shaming and just like insecurity just in that constant space, what are some things that have continued or motivated you to keep persevering through those challenges that you're facing?
I think it's just what has kept me motivated to keep pushing despite all these like issues with the ballet world. It's just my love for ballet and me trying to reach out to a person that wouldn't normally see themselves on stage. And
representation
matters so much. And I will be very honest. About 2 or 3 years ago, when Misty Copeland was at like the major spokesperson for representation in ballet, I always used to be like, she always is saying, I'm on stage and I'm reaching out to the little black girl in the audience. And I sometimes would be like, okay, we get it, honey. Like, we get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ashamed of myself for being so like dismissive to that,
Right.
because moving to Dayton, Ohio, and realizing, so in Dayton, the theater that I performed in is called the Schuster Center, and it's the largest kind of like classical theater in Dayton, and it holds about 2,500 people. And doing our large performances, you will count 5 to 10 Black people in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the only Black person on stage. And I remember we would have a kind of nutcracker party for the little girls and little boys, for the ballet dancers to sign their little nutcrackers and sign their autographs. And I remember always having people's grandparents and parents pushing the boys of color to me all the time. And it's like, thank you for being this like person for them. Because a lot of the boys, there are 1 or 2 boys of color in the Dayton Ballet School, but sometimes they weren't pushing themselves because they're like, why? Like, who else? What other Black boy doing this? Like, it's like, who else is doing this? And to see someone on the professional level, it creates a whole different experience. And even when we had Stivers High School, which is the performing arts high school of Dayton, come to see us in rehearsal, and that school, I believe, is predominantly Black. You even see the major difference of how they are drawn to me and how they want to speak to me. Like, oh my gosh, like, how, and you're from Brooklyn and you did this and you're really making it a job.
Yeah.
And so I just love to see that. And I love to, even for the females, obviously, it's Black men and Black women had definitely different experiences in the ballet world. I would definitely say Black women have it so much harder, and I cannot think that way. Like, they definitely struggle. We struggle as well, but it is even so amazing to see young Black girls come up to me and say like, wow, like, thank you. I really want to do this. I want to dance like you. Like, so I think it's more so for the representation and just my love for ballet.
Mm. You definitely, because I could go all day, but yeah, definitely.
You had a follow-up, but to just go off of that, are there a lot of programs, do you know, because I'm not expecting that you do, for those kids who don't get to see themselves in ballet? So are there active programs reaching into the communities where they wouldn't normally have access, so that they can know that that is an option for them?
Yes. I would say one thing that I failed to do while dancing at Dayton Ballet was try to strive for a better outreach program for the Dayton Ballet School and for Dayton Ballet, because Dayton Ballet, sorry to say, it's very separated from the Black community in many ways, and they're not very invitive to the Black community. They don't try to go into the community to get the young kids and try to entertain them or try to push them to get into this field, as we do with the wealthier white neighborhoods or with the white donors. It's like Dayton Ballet sometimes panders to this one select group, but I will definitely say there are other companies that have done a way better job, as such as I previously danced at Ballet Austin, and their school is very diverse, and they have many scholarships for boys and girls of color. They also have a racial equity project where they speak to Black dancers that have danced at Ballet Austin, Black teachers that have taught, Black parents of Black students that have gone through the academy, in order to improve the diversity and the natural systematic racism of the institution, they reach
Mm-hmm.
out. So literally, I had an interview where I was on the phone for like 3 or 4 hours, where I had to speak about my experiences at Ballet Austin and what can they do better, and
Yeah.
how my experience can help them like improve in the hiring process and being more inclusive.
Mm.
American Ballet Theater also has a very large diversity program. The ABT JKO School, the School of American Ballet is probably the most diverse school in the country.
Mm-hmm.
The School of American Ballet is associated with New York City Ballet. The company is very diverse. Of 100 dancers, they have maybe 10 to 12 Black dancers, which is a very big thing.
Yeah.
Where you have companies that are like 1 or 2%, New York City Ballet is 10%, which also represents more so the demographic of New York City. It can have more, but they are doing a very good job where they also bring Black teachers and Black ballet instructors into the School of American Ballet. They watch, learn the methodology of the School of American Ballet, and then they go back into their own local schools
And bring it
and
there.
help them, yes, and teach them the methodology of the School of American Ballet. So it's easier for them to get into the School of American Ballet, which makes it easier for them to get to New York City Ballet.
Right.
So they're doing well. So New York City Ballet, American Ballet Theater. So I'm naming like the white institutions that
Yeah.
are doing well. Dance Theater of Harlem, which is the Black ballet company of America, is the company is 90% Black. The school is about close to 100% Black. So that is one school that is definitely reaching out to the community of New York City. They have many scholarships for kids that are interested in doing classical ballet. And there's no issue with starting at a smaller school.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I was going to ask, do you feel as though it is in the ballet world that it is better to go to a predominantly white company, but that has better technique or better exposure versus a predominantly like Black one that's not as big, but like it gives you that sense of comfortability and visibility? Like, do you think there's like a lean towards when you decide, or is it just like
Yeah.
whatever? Yeah.
It was so basically that was like my experience. So when I first, which because like my biography is very long, so I didn't mention every single aspect of it.
Yeah.
But actually, my first dance school was a small Black dance school in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
where we like were rehearsing and taking class in like a cafeteria of a middle school, where I did the African and the contemporary and the ballet, and I did all the hip hop, which I'm horrible at hip hop. But that's what I started doing. I started doing everything, and I will say I will never like talk badly about the experience that I've had there, because honestly, the fierceness and my artistic quality that I exude on stage comes from there.
Oh, wow.
The fierceness did not come. Also, the fierceness is innate, but I would definitely say I was taught to perform there with very minimal technique. It was always like, you got to give me more, Tristan. Like, show me what you can do. And they don't instill those values at like a predominantly white school. Usually at predominantly white schools is more so about the technique and how. So you definitely, to be in a professional ballet company, which 90% of the ballet companies in America are predominantly white, you have to have the technique. So I will say there's no issue starting at a Black dance school, because Black dance schools make you versatile.
Yes.
It doesn't make you very one-routed. Like I definitely can do other forms of dance because of that.
It makes me think of So You Think You Can Dance. Sorry. It makes me think of So You Think You Can Dance. When I used to watch it aggressively, it was always like the people that were in hip hop made it because you seen the grit, you seen the creativity. Whereas when it came to like, it was easy for them to, make that look good when they did like ballet. Whereas when it came to the ballet professionals or people that trained in ballet to go to hip hop, it just was always, I don't see it. I see you very calculated. I see you very intricate, where like a lot of like hip hop and like, it's about like the move. Like you might have messed up, but we can't see that because it doesn't show. Whereas like when you see somebody that's trying to like do hip hop, it's like it's not something that you can teach. It's something that you got to feel. So I definitely, Yeah.
Oh no, and then definitely like, and that's what it goes back to the training. And I feel like there's no issue getting to, and then I would say starting like maybe at the age of 10, 11, 12, maybe that middle school experience, you're at the predominantly Black school where they're going to
Yeah.
teach you to be fast and you're going to get an ounce of every single thing. And then when you get into more high school, maybe transferring over to a more classical ballet school because you do at the end of the day need a certain level of technique to be a
Yeah.
professional. But if you want the versatility, it's good to start off at, you know, your local school. It's going to be a lot cheaper, and they're also going to have ballet there,
Mhm.
but it's only going to reach a certain level. And then if you really want to pursue ballet as your profession, then transfer over to that school because yeah, like you were saying, so you think you can dance. Ballet dancers tend to be more stiff, like, you
Mhm.
know, they're not hitting it, they're not giving it because if you're in this ballet world and you're going to a classical ballet school all these years, they're not teaching you how to do something else like hip hop. They're not giving you even the feeling to be less balletic. It's always like when you're in the ballet room, you're being balletic. So think
Mhm.
about when you have years of continuous ballet classes and ballet rehearsals and ballet performances, it just becomes so ingrained in your body. That's why sometimes you look kind of awkward doing it. And I can't lie, I look sometimes awkward doing it too.
Um, Devin, I was,
What,
yeah.
um, what has been the most profound experience that you've had in your career?
Profound.
Yeah, the
Ooh,
most impactful, I would say.
good or bad?
You know, I was hoping for a good one, but you know, if you
Yeah,
want
yeah, no, of course, if we keep it
whichever one
good.
rings more true to you, you know.
Which one is true? Yes.
I was so to rewind to that is actually probably me going to China. Um I would say I never cry. I mean, not
Mm.
never, but like I rarely ever cry. And that was like a moment of
Oh,
shock and just like utter happiness. And it was actually amazing because actually I remember when during the audition, I mean during the competition, the audience had to stay silent after everyone's solo. Like they're not supposed to make not one peak of noise. That's what like the boards were saying up like stay quiet, solo, solo, solo. And it was actually after my solo, you heard people like gasp and clap and like the producers of the show were like, shh, like
No.
don't do that, don't do that. And it was like such an amazing feeling to feel that. And just when I had to when I was taking the pictures of the award and I like have it on my Instagram, just standing, being just a black man standing with like people from China and from Russia and like, you know,
It's
different countries in Europe
powerful.
and Asia. And it's a powerful
there's
moment.
a power
And
there.
and the crazy thing is I'm literally like half naked.
Yeah.
Um because I wore and my outfit was skin toned as
It's
well.
like they were
And that
embracing that blackness right there. Like, let's
yes,
just sit in this blackness in this space. Come on.
it was, and at the moment, and I think even in 2017, I didn't realize how powerful that moment was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was. I think at that moment I was just so happy to win in first place in Beijing, China.
Hmm.
But when I see it now, it's more so I was a black man and the only black person in the competition, and everyone else is behind me, and
Hmm.
I'm in front. We're no longer in the back.
Mm.
I'm in the front.
Revolutionary.
And just looking at the picture because it's like and my outfit was basically inspired by my idol Eric Underwood in a ballet called Chroma by William McGregor. It's a contemporary ballet where they wear like a female camisole and
Hmm.
they wear like a kind of like a full back dance belt and that's it. So literally you're just wearing like underwear and a shirt. And that's
Mm.
basically what I wore. And it was exactly to my skin tone. So honestly, from a distance, I remember when I was getting interviewed on the Beijing News, they were like, no, from a distance, it looked like you were naked. And
Mm.
I was like, and then I was like, and they spoke about, oh my God, your body's so beautiful. So it was just like another moment where it was just like, I was so happy. I'm over here, literally wearing brown underwear and a brown shirt, looking naked on stage. And I'm in my like, you know,
In my
excellence
element.
in
I'm in my
everybody.
element.
I'm in my element accepting this check and the first place award and the whole all the teachers and the judges and all the other auditioners are right behind.
Mm.
It was just like it was definitely a
It's my
moment that I will
turn.
never
It's
forget.
my turn.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I see it
Yeah.
now. It's literally it is my turn.
Hmm.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah,
really.
that is nice. It's very impactful, that story. Just like in this, thinking about the visuals of that, and just like what
Hmm.
you've endured, and just like what's in the ballet company. That's like really powerful. I think the last couple of questions or things. The last thing I want to, not last, well, whatever. What is, knowing all of this and being in the company and being a professional this long? What is something or something you would say? Well, something you would do or something you would say to young Black boys or boys that you see that want to dive into this ballet space but really don't feel comfortable? What are some words of encouragement or some things that you would say to them in that space?
I will say is basically what I was saying before is live in your truth unapologetically. Um, don't allow stereotypes or ridicule or people talking badly about you to affect your love. If you have
Mm,
the passion for it, if you have the love for it, go for it. It's going to pay off in the end. And I feel like sometimes a lot of Black men and Black boys have stopped ballet prematurely due to stereotype and ridicule and being made fun of, and they don't see the end road. They don't see
Mm-hmm.
it at all.
wow.
And you just have to put in the time, and just like how I put in the time, and definitely growing up and being the ballet boy from Brooklyn, it wasn't like perfectly so easy, but I think I always saw the edge. I always
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to make something out of it. So I feel like you just can't allow the obstacles to hinder you, because definitely now it's so nice when you're walking down the street and someone maybe has seen you perform, or like just like when I was in Dayton, Ohio, people would be like, "Oh my God, I think I saw you like perform and you were amazing." And it's
Mm-hmm.
just such an amazing feeling. So I would say to them, that will come for you as well. And just for you to tell someone that you're a professional ballet dancer, being a Black man is an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just give up on it because the times get rough. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Mm,
it's always going. Times are always going to be hard when you're pursuing something that is very unconventional.
Mm-hmm.
oh,
And it is, it's true life. And you have to be so confident in
oh
yourself,
man.
confident in who you are as an individual, confident in how you are as an artist, in order to really reach the level that you want to be at. And you can't allow the criticism. And definitely, me saying that does not mean that I did not allow criticism to get to me, because
Right.
I sometimes hear the criticism, and sometimes I hear people's opinions of what I do as a career, and I think about it and I dwell on it sometimes. However, I don't think it has ever affected me to a point where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. My love is too strong, and what I've done so far, and you don't get me wrong, you don't have to accomplish what I have accomplished or
Right.
what Missy Copeland has accomplished in order to you want to pursue this as a career. If you have the love for it, just go for it, honestly.
Mm.
That was a word.
Um, do you? Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. What I loved about that was it's applicable outside of ballet. That was something I think that can really ring true for people who have any sort of passion that isn't, your standard STEM project or a STEM or anything else like that. Like pursuing something that truly gives you purpose and joy.
Yeah.
That was some beautiful advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, come on. And it's perfect because we're starting to close out this conversation. I wanted, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of this, Tristan. I know
Yes.
this,
Of course, thank
we've
you for
talked about
inviting me.
this. Yeah, we talked about this in the past, and I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to have this exposure. And I feel like this was very impactful to have in the show. Like, I learned so much about you, the ballet, like the ballet company and things of that nature. And I really
Mhm.
appreciate that.
No, thank you so much for inviting
Yeah. So before we close out and do our little closing parts, are there
me.
any projects or any upcoming things you would want the audience to know about, or something you just want to tell the viewers that are listening?
So I would definitely say due to the pandemic that is going on, a lot of ballet companies are not doing seasons until next year, actually, like 2021. So I can't give anything in terms of me performing just yet.
Yeah.
I have been doing a lot of teaching virtually, been doing master classes, private lessons as well. People can hit me up on my Instagram, which is Tristan.Withers, which is spelled TRISTAN dot WHITHERS, and that is my Instagram. My email is associated on my email is on my Instagram page. However, you can DM me, email me if you want a private ballet lesson, or if there's any other like arts organizations or a person that's in charge of a ballet school that wants me to teach. I definitely would love to do it because I love teaching, and we didn't even get into that about how I love teaching the kids that don't have the accents, because I've done that in Brooklyn. But that's another story.
That's another story. That's another episode.
That's another story for next time. But I had, and that's my second passion is teaching.
Oh, that's
it's teaching and coaching those who wouldn't normally have a person that has the type of background that I have. Because I give it to them like how they would get it from a director in a ballet company, but they get the individual, the Black boy from Brooklyn. So I am cutthroat, how they ballet directors would be, but I'm still like, what's up, sis? Like, I still give the comfortability. Like, you know, you feel at home when I'm teaching. So definitely, if anyone needs a teacher, a master class, or something along the line, or wants to do a photo shoot, I'm open. I mean, I need to lose a little weight, but
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, let me tell you.
I doubt it.
Quarantine got the people a little thick, but
I've been eating a lot of berries, honey.
A lot of pasta. A lot of pasta.
A lot. Oh, trust me, this Jamaican boy, hello. A lot of Rasta pasta.
Yes. Can I say Rasta pasta? Like, I had that, like, I think, like a couple months ago. I was like, this spice? This seasoning?
Okay.
I was
Jamaicans know how to season.
I was like, I like that.
That they do.
Yes.
Well,
first, re-season.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of this episode with us. This is really impactful, and I think this is going to be something that we just always remember. But if you all want to continue this conversation with any of us, Tristan already said his social medias, but me and Devin will do ours like we always do. You can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at _Lord Devery, which is _LORDEVERY on Instagram and Twitter.
You can find me on Instagram at Derwin King, DERWINKING, and on Twitter, Free Negro, that's FREENEGREAUX.
And if you would like to hit us up on our podcast social media, you can hit us up on That Black Boy Joy on Instagram and Twitter. And if you would love to be a part of the show, you can hit us up in our Gmail at thatblackboyjoypodcast@gmail.com. And like always, be so in love with who you are and stay Black and melanated.
Okay.